If it's Thursday night, oh yes it is. Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. Hello friends, Anthony Florio here with you for another edition of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. Glad to have you with us. Michael Bullock running late as usual. He's out. Hopefully he'll be back with us soon before the show is over. When he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. Simple as that. But for right now, it's myself along with Girl MF, Michael Fletcher. We are gonna, navigate through another big week of college football, and I gotta tell you what, I see three huge games this week, and the final game of the week that we're going to talk about happens to be the game of the week, if you can believe that. So it's funny how the schedule falls into place. So we do have one score that has gone final. It actually just went final a short time ago. The number 25 Virginia Tech Hokies just defeated the Pittsburgh Panthers 39-36 at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. A very good game, to say the very least. A high-scoring affair. Definitely a classic, no question about it. And a big win for Virginia Tech. They go to 6-2. Pitt drops to 5-3. Gerard Evans with 406 yards passing and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. The running game did next to nothing, although Williams scored a rushing touchdown. The receiving core, though, 300-yard receivers in this game. 3. Hodges had 145. Ford had 143 and a touchdown, and Phillips had 109. So that's great. Over on the other side, Peterman, the Pittsburgh quarterback, 267 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Their running back, James Conner, even with this loss, he had a great game, 141 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns, but it was all for naught. And Orndorff was their leading receiver with 96 yards, but Weah had a touchdown. So that's really all there is to say on that. So, like I said, humongous win for the Virginia Tech Hokies as they defeat Pittsburgh. So they'll probably slowly climb up the rankings going into next week. So with that being said, let's dive into the action at hand. We have a game tomorrow night, and that's how we're going to start it off. We're going to start it off with the number 22 Navy Midshipmen, as they're going to be going up against the South Florida Bulls at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, the home of the NFL's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, of course, their infamous mascot, as Fletch and I call him, Bucky. Fire the cannons, Bucky. You know that story. But Navy and South Florida will meet tomorrow night. And on the call for ESPN2, because the game's going to be on ESPN2, Adam Amin, Mac Brown, Molly McGrath, they will be in South Florida for that one. And the spread actually favors South Florida, if you can believe it. South Florida, a 6.5 to 7-point favorite, which I'm going to be real honest, really surprises me, considering how great Navy is. And I believe I pretty much caught you up on all the schematics. So, wow. Number 22, Navy can edge closer to a spot in the American Athletic Conference title game with a win against South Florida at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa tomorrow night. Midshipmen are the only remaining undefeated team in the American and sit atop the West Division with 4 league games remaining. South Florida suffered its first league loss last week against Temple and dropped to second place behind the Owls in the Eastern Division. Navy has been dominant with its triple option attack led by senior quarterback Will Worth. However, midshipman coach Ken Niumatalolo is wary of the Bulls, who are scoring a league best 42 points a game. South Florida is looking to bounce back from the disappointing 46-30 loss to Temple. The setback not only knocked the Bulls from first place, it also ended a 9-game winning streak against division opponents. The Bulls do have enough talent on offense to get into a shootout with Navy. South Florida quarterback Quentin Flowers has been one of the most dominant players in the conference and has completed 117 of his 200 passing attempts for 1,722 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He's also the team's leading rusher, 745 yards and 8 touchdowns on 108 carries. South Florida wide receiver Rodney Adams is one of Flowers' favorite targets. 34 catches for 502 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Adams also has had some success against Navy, returning a kickoff for a touchdown in the Bulls' 29-17 loss in Annapolis last year. Flowers also likes to throw to Dearness Johnson, who has 18 catches for 171 yards and 4 touchdowns, while rushing for 321 yards and 4 touchdowns on 59 carries. Marlon Mack is the primary running back for the Bulls, 659 yards rushing on 97 carries with 10 touchdowns. Bulls will face a stern challenge from the Navy defense, which has forced at least one turnover in 24 of the last 26 games, including in 5 of 6 games this year. The midshipmen are 5-0 when the defense creates a turnover. On offense, Navy will look to run the ball against the Bulls, who have given up huge chunks of yards in their 2 losses. In the loss to Temple, South Florida allowed 319 yards rushing. Florida State ran for 478 yards in its 55-35 victory over the Bulls on September 24. Navy averages 293.2 rushing yards a game. Last week in a 42-28 victory over Memphis, the midshipmen had 447 yards rushing. Worth ran for a career-high 201 yards and 3 touchdowns on 31 carries. Also completed 3 out of 4 passing attempts for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns, and was named the American Athletic Conference's Offensive Player of the Week. Worth has now scored a touchdown in every game this year and leads the midshipmen with 9 rushing scores on the season. Not bad for a quarterback who was only starting because of a season-ending knee injury to Tago Smith. So this is going to be a high-scoring game. I definitely feel that. And I know that South Florida is a 6.5 to 7-point favorite, and I know the game's in Tampa, but I got to go with the hot hand right now. I got to go with Navy. I just think Navy's the better team right now, and all those numbers that I mentioned seem to suggest that. So I'm going with the midshipmen of Navy to defeat South Florida. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to say my final score here, I'm going to go 45-38 Navy over South Florida in what should be a very high-octane scoring game at Raymond James Stadium tomorrow night. So give me the Navy in this one. So good old MF, Michael Fletcher, let's bring you on in. Navy, South Florida at Raymond James Stadium tomorrow night. It's got potential to be a high-scoring affair. And I know that's that doesn't really sit well with you because you're more of a defensive guy, as you know.
Well, in the NFL, I'm a defensive guy because defense is really king when it comes to the National Football League. But when it comes to the college, defenses are never really that relevant. Normally, it is more higher scoring and everything else. So, yeah, in the NFL, better defense, better anything. In college, I don't see much defense. You don't really see that many low-scoring games. They're always, mid-20s, 30s, 40s, and then you get the occasional 50s, 60s, 70s. But, that just depends on the team that they deal with, the game that they have to ride with, and whatnot. I'm with you. I'm with Navy as well. I think Navy, their triple option has really been their key all season long. They look really good playing that style of offense, and I just don't think South Florida can hang with them. If it turns into a shootout, I love their running game. I love the running game of Navy better than anything else, even though you talk about how Flowers has been amazing, and he's a one-man wrecking crew. I mean, he can pass it through the air. He can run with the football. Great to have. But to me, I'm with you. I'm going to go with Navy. I love, that triple option style offense. I think that's going to be the key. That's going to win out today. And to me, I got Navy winning. So let's move on.
And we move on to the Saturday games in MF. You're going to be starting off, and it's only fitting that you're starting this off because this first game we're going to get into, this is a game that I know you've had circled on your calendar for the last year or so. Here we go. The now number 2 Michigan Wolverines going up against the Michigan State Spartans, Spartan Stadium, East Lansing, Michigan, high noon, ESPN. Calling the game for ESPN, Bob Wischusen, Brock Heward, Allison Williams. They'll be in East Lansing. And the Wolverines, 24.5-point favorites. MF, 1 year ago, perhaps the most demoralizing loss in Michigan football history. We know how it all played out. This time around, I know you and the entire you, Michael Bullock, and the rest of Wolverine Nation, I know you boys and gals have nothing, and I mean nothing, but revenge on your mind for that demoralizing loss.
Oh, we got a bone to pick, Anthony Florio, and don't even get me riled up. That's all I'm gonna say. What happened last year was the most demoralizing. I can't even explain that loss. I mean, Michigan had the game won. There's no doubt about it. The game was theirs. They had it in their hands. They were going to win it. They were going to go away with it. The next thing we know, it was a stunner. A bad snap on a punt formation. The punt gets blocked. Michigan State gets the ball. They run it down the field. They get the touchdown. They rip Michigan's hearts. That's plain and simple. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, But that was then. This is now. There's a lot of difference between what happened last season and this season. I mean, Michigan has been a well-oiled machine. Now, there's been some times where they've made a couple of mistakes here and there defensively. There's been some defensive lapses, but offensively, they are a well-balanced offense. They average about 226 yards passing, 57 yards rushing, and they average almost 49 points per game, only allowing 10 points per game for Michigan, where for Michigan State, they only average about 23 points per game and give up about 30. That's not good. If you're a Michigan fan, you like those odds. On top of that, they get burned through the ground. They get burned through the air. This is Michigan's big moment. They can extract revenge here. You got the game right where you want them. It looks like Michigan State is definitely not the team that they were a year ago. And normally this would be easy Michigan win. On paper, this is a Michigan win. But it's a rivalry game. Michigan, whatever you do, don't take Sparty lightly. They would love to ruin our season like they did last year. They would love to do it again to us. So play focused, play confident, let Harbaugh be that taskmaster that he's been all season long. Continue what you do. That matters to me. Continue what you do. We had a tough game against Wisconsin. We won that game. Barely, but we won. Continue to focus on the job at hand. And that's the real key of this game. Don't get caught up in all the hype. Don't get caught up in all the muck. Don't get caught up in all the BS. All right? Yes, we did get our hearts broken a year ago. We got to be focused on the job at hand. And that is do your job, play the style of Michigan football we've been playing for the last 5 weeks since the beginning of the season, and we will walk out of here with the victory again. All right? Nothing more to say. Michigan wins it. I'm not going to give a score. Anthony, I give it to you.
Right there with you. I got Michigan as well. I mean, and Matt, if you remember last week we talked about, disappointing teams in college football this year. When we talked about, we felt that Oregon and Notre Dame were the two most. I think we need to add another one in Michigan State because they have been so disappointing this year. I mean, they got to a great start, but then, including a big win in Notre Dame. But since that win at Notre Dame, what have they done? They've done next to nothing. This is clearly not the same team that I've gotten to become a fan of and an admirer of over the last couple of years. So fun to watch. Always in that mix. But no, this is not the same team clearly, And Michigan is a humongous favorite, 24.5. I mean, Michigan wants revenge, not just the team itself, but also Michael Fletcher, Michael Bullock, and the rest of the Michigan fan base, whether it's the student body, alums, what have you. I mean, that's all there is to say on that. So I think Wilson Speight's going to have another big game for him, no question about it, or Wilton Speight, rather. The receiving core, Jake Butt, Chesson, and the rest of them, and Jabril Peppers. I'm expecting another monster game from him. I mean, he's continuing to do some unbelievable things. I mean, they're fourth in rushing defense at 96, and they're first in the nation in scoring defense, allowing 10 a game. Total defense, 207 yards. Passing defense, 111. Third down conversion defense, 13%. Fletch talks about defense being overlooked. No, the Wolverines defense is going to have a field day against Michigan State, I think. And they've got nothing but revenge on their minds. So Michigan will get their revenge. They'll extract their revenge, no doubt about it. So there's nothing left for me to say here except there ain't going to be no clunky finish this time around. There ain't going to be no out of the ordinary finish here. I got Michigan, and I got Michigan going away. So that's really all I can say about that. And Michigan will continue their incredible season, no question about it. So give me the Wolverines in East Lansing. Get their revenge. That's all there is to say on it. So with that being said, let's move on to our next game. Number 5, Louisville. The Louisville Cardinals going up against the Virginia Cavaliers. David A. Harrison III Field at Scott Stadium in Charlottesville, Virginia. Either ABC or ESPN2 is where you can find the game. Check your local listings for the time and channel in your area. And calling this game for ABC or ESPN2, it'll be Alan Bestwick with Mike Bellotti and Chris Budden. And the spread favors Louisville. Big. 32.5 to 33. This is practically another open and shut case here. It's Louisville. It's Louisville all the way. Lamar Jackson, 431 all-purpose yards, and I believe he accounted for 4 touchdowns in Louisville's 54-13 holiday hamming of NC State a week ago. And I'm expecting Mr. Jackson to have himself another humongous game. And if you watch the great CBS Sports Network, if you watch that wonderful show they have on Tuesday nights called We Need to Talk, Dana Jacobson, who's one of the hosts on that show, and someone that I know MF has had a thing for a long time. And then again, I'm starting to understand why. She said she made a clear and cut statement on that show the other night. She said, "Just give the Heisman to Lamar Jackson. Just give the Heisman to him now." I'm right there with you, darling. Right there with you. I know they're gonna need at least 2 other nominees. At this point, I really don't know who those 2 other nominees are, because Lamar Jackson has been far and away Heisman caliber all season long, from that opening game, of course, that big game against Florida State, throughout the season. I mean, even though they lost to Clemson in that 5-star game, it's been his show all year. And I know, and I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that he's going to lead Louisville to another easy win against another meh opponent. So based on that alone, Louisville wins. Louisville wins big. There's nothing left to say. MF, Louisville, and Virginia. Dana Jacobson said, "Hey, just give the Heisman to him now." Do you agree with your favorite girl there or what?
Not so fast, baby girl, because I got a guy in Michigan named Jabril Peppers that might say, I don't think so. It's not an open and shut case. Yes, he's the best player right now, but Jabril Peppers has been a monster. He can do it on receiving, on rushing, on defense, on kick returns. He's already got, I think, 2 or 3 kick returns for touchdowns this year already. So, the best pure athlete right now is Jabril Peppers of Michigan. So, not so fast, my friend, on giving the award or announcing who the Heisman Trophy winner is yet. Yes, he's the front runner. Yes, he's the favorite. But because we got into this argument on ESPN, into this argument about the Heisman watch, and they got at least, I think they said they had 3 or 4 that they think, yes, he's in it. Peppers is in it. And there's 2 others right now that looks like front runners for the Heisman. But I'm with you. Louisville is such an amazing team, and they're so strong on so many levels. So, yeah, I believe they're going to get the job done. I do believe they're going to win big. There's really nothing more to add to that. But like I said, anybody who starts to think that this is an open and shut case for the Heisman, you might want to reopen that book because, like I said, there's a couple of other guys that is not really giving the hype, as they would say. So, with that said, Anthony, I give it to you for the next game.
Fair enough, Matt. Fair enough, and keep your mic on because you're leading this next one off. Now, this will be a good one here as we go to the Big 12 now. Number 10, West Virginia Mountaineers going up against the Oklahoma State Cowboys, Boone Pickens Stadium, Stillwater, Oklahoma. This game's going to be on Fox. And calling the game for Fox will be Joe Davis with Brady Quinn and Jenny Taft. And the spread favors West Virginia, but only by 3.5 to 4. All right, MF. West Virginia, Oklahoma State. We know how wild and crazy these games in the Big 12 can get.
Oh, yeah.
I have no doubt in my mind that this is going to be just another crazy day in the Big 12.
It's going to be a typical crazy day in the Big 12, but here's something that you may not know, Anthony. You have your ESPN Game Rater, which is a godsend for us. Well, I got the ESPN Matchup Predictor. Now, this is according to the ESPN Power Index, Football Power Index, and they actually predict the odds of who's going to win this game. And believe it or not, they're predicting an upset. That's right. They actually got Oklahoma State the favorite, 55.7 to 44.3%, because of the fact that the latest line had them below it. It's under what they call the margin of error. Yes, I know it sounds very politicky, but because of the fact that it's only a 4-point spread, they actually believe this is not a safe game. And I agree with that. I don't believe this is a safe game. When you got Rudolph, who's been very good, 14 touchdowns to 2 interceptions and almost 2,300 yards passing. Howard is an okay quarterback, 12 touchdowns with 4 INTs, and he's only got about 1,800 yards passing. But the one thing that they do is offensively, actually, Oklahoma State has the better offense. Defensively, this is where West Virginia has the advantage here. But because it's in Stillwater, because it's in Oklahoma State, and being that it is a home game for them, and after they knocked off Pitt, and then, they did their business. They handled their business against Texas, who was number 22 at the time. And, yeah, I get it. A lot of people are like, well, West Virginia, they beat TCU. TCU was TCU is always one of those big names in the Big 12 nowadays, so you don't know what to get. They beat Texas Tech. They barely got away from K-State, and that might be one of the reasons why some people are not too very often, because that game was at home. They really, when you go on at home, normally you give the benefit of the doubt to that team. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to Texas, to Oklahoma, I should say, Oklahoma State, and I believe we got an upset. I'm calling it 38-34. We're going to get the upset. They're going to be shooting some guns up they're going to be shooting cannons and guns and a whole bunch of other stuff, because then Cowboys are going to get some Mountaineers, man. Somebody's going to get got on Saturday, and I think we got ourselves an upset, man. Get ready, Boone Pickens Stadium, because you guys in Stillwater, you're gonna be rounding up some Mountaineers. I think you're gonna get the upset. I think you're gonna shake up the rankings again. I got Oklahoma State Cowboys knocking off the West Virginia Mountaineers. All right, Floyd, what do you say?
I like that. Somebody going to get got. Well, there's only one thing you forgot to say, and that is if you're going to go that route, West Virginia is going to get it. That's all I can say about that. You might as well have thrown that in there. But well, honestly, wow. Now you just made things interesting here. I was going to go with West Virginia, but now I'm starting to feel compelled to go for the upset myself. But let me get into my liner notes here. West Virginia, one of the seven unbeaten teams among the Power 5 conferences, finally cracked the national top 10 this week. Mountaineers coming off impressive wins, especially defensively against Texas Tech and TCU, surprisingly putting themselves in position to crash the college football playoff. Number 10 West Virginia, which began the season unranked, will get another chance to impress the playoff selection committee Saturday at Oklahoma State in a new kickoff from Boone Pickens Stadium in Stillwater. West Virginia's single-minded focus has been evident during whippings of Texas Tech and TCU the last 2 weeks, when it held those two high-powered offenses to a total of 27 points. Red Raiders and Horned Frogs combined to average 48 points a game when they play teams not named West Virginia. Consider that Texas Tech roared up and down the field last Saturday, scoring 59 points in a loss to Oklahoma, a week after falling 48-17 to the Mountaineers. This will be another big test. Oklahoma State has a potent offense averaging 41 points a game, 14th best in the country. Cowboys coming off a 44-20 victory at Kansas, but there were some problems with their usually potent attack. For starters, the Jayhawks used bracket coverage to hold leading receiver James Washington to one reception for 9 yards. In addition, Kansas often pressured quarterback Mason Rudolph and sacked him 5 times. Yet the Cowboys did largely because they found offensive weapons other than Washington, such as slot receiver Jalen McCleskey, 7 catches for 129 yards, and freshman running back Justice Hill, who carried 22 times for a career-high 162 yards, third 100-yard game of the year. West Virginia, 10th nationally in total offense at 510 yards a game, feeding off its defense and its own low mistake play. Quarterback Skylar Howard was at his most efficient against TCU, completing 16 of 23 for 231 yards, 4 TDs, no picks. 14th nationally in passing efficiency with a rating of 157.4. Howard is averaging 9 yards per pass attempt, which is 11th in the country, and he'll take his cracks at a Cowboys defense permitting 267 yards a game. Wide receivers Dakeil Shorts Jr., team-high 31 catches this season, and Jovan Durante each made highlight reel catches last week. Mountaineers running back Russell Shell has recorded 2 consecutive 100-yard games. West Virginia continues to average more than 200 yards a game on the ground and should have success against the Oklahoma State defense that has yielded 181.6 rushing yards a game. West Virginia has committed only 8 turnovers in 6 games, but the Cowboys forced 3 against Kansas last week, creating confusion by dropping linemen into coverage and showing pressure from the back end. Cowboys have won 3 consecutive games to climb near the AP top 25 after starting the season ranked number 21. They fell out of the poll after a controversial Week 2 loss to Central Michigan. Coach Mike Gundy is bidding for his 100th career win while facing two of his former assistants, Dana Holgorsen, West Virginia head coach Dana Holgorsen, and West Virginia offensive coordinator Joe Wickline. The Cowboys won this matchup last year in Morgantown 33-26 in overtime. A West Virginia win Saturday would nicely position the Mountaineers for a couple of less demanding games against Kansas and Texas before a showdown in Morgantown against Oklahoma on November 19th. Normally, I would be inclined to agree with MF. I mean, he makes some great points. Oklahoma State's got a great team, Mason Rudolph and James Washington and those other great talents. But if I'm going to be real honest, I'm sorry, MF, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you. I got West Virginia winning this game based on their defense. I mean, look what their defense has done against Texas Tech and TCU, two high-powered offenses, and they've held them to a combined 27 points in the last 2 weeks. That's unreal. And I like Skylar Howard. I like Russell Shell. And I like this young team. And I like their coach, Dana Holgorsen. I love his body of work. And watch out for West Virginia, man. West Virginia is, if they keep playing like this, they could be a dark horse. I mean that seriously. They could be a dark horse for the college football playoff. They're gonna have to keep getting wins, and they're gonna need a lot of help to crack the top four. But we'll have to wait and see. Anything can happen. We've seen it before. We've seen the chaos before, and you know how much I love the chaos personally. But we'll have to wait and see. But I'm sorry, MF. I gotta respectfully disagree with you. I have West Virginia winning this game. High scoring affair. You better believe it. My final score, I'm going to go 51-48, West Virginia over Oklahoma State. It's going to be one hell of a game. That's definitely a game I'm looking forward to seeing. So give me West Virginia in that one. Final high noon game as we go back to the Big Ten. We got the new number 24, Penn State Nittany Lions going up against the Purdue Boilermakers at Ross-Ade Stadium in I believe it's Lafayette, Indiana. I mean, somewhere in Indiana. I don't know where Purdue's located exactly, but Penn State and Purdue will meet. This is the other game for the ABC ESPN2 high noon. And calling the Penn State Purdue game will be Beth Mowins with Anthony Becht and Rocky Boyman. And the spread favors Penn State by 13.5, which is not a surprise. So definitely got to go with Penn State here. I mean, they have so much momentum right now because they pulled off the upset of the year so far this season. At home, in a whiteout, upset number 2 Ohio State, much to the delight of Michigan fans all over the world, especially Michael Fletcher and Michael Bullock, because Michigan totally benefited from that big win by Penn State. And their head coach, James Franklin, encouraged his team to take in the moment following that dramatic fourth quarter comeback and 24-21 upset of number 2 ranked Ohio State last Saturday at home at Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley. They visit Purdue on Saturday, and they need to find a way to regroup and move on from their first home win over a top 2 rated team since the 27-24 win over Nebraska all the way back in 1982. Toss in the fact Penn State has lost its last 7 true road contests dating back to a November 18, 2014 win at Indiana, including 2 this season at Pitt and Michigan, and the early noon start in West Lafayette, Indiana becomes even more intriguing. And Purdue also has a lot riding on the contest. It will be the first home game since interim head coach Gerard Parker took over for Darrell Hazel a few weeks ago, and an upset of the Nittany Lions, who have won 7 in a row in the series, would put the Boilermakers back on track for a potential bowl bid. Parker is emphasizing a more positive, upbeat approach to his head coaching duties. It seemed to work for much of his debut last week at number 8 Nebraska. The Boilermakers performed far better than they had all season against top teams, building a 14-10 halftime lead before eventually losing to the Huskers 27-14. Penn State's running game looked pretty good against Ohio State as sophomore running back Saquon Barkley and sophomore quarterback Trace McSorley continued to team up to make defenders miss. They combined for 162 yards as their chemistry in the team zone read rushing attack has grown. The Boilermakers, meanwhile, have allowed 1,237 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns since conference play started. Penn State's defense, which kept Ohio State quarterback J.T. Barrett in check with a variety of blitzes, now must find a way to slow down Purdue's wide-open passing attack. Boilermaker quarterback David Bluff leads the Big Ten in completions with 173 and yards 2,065 and has thrown 14 touchdown passes. Senior wide receiver D'Angelo Yancey is coming off a big game against Nebraska with 4 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, but nonetheless, I got Penn State winning this game. Trace McSorley, Saquon Barkley, they're going to have big games, and they're going to frustrate David Bluff, and that defense will get to Purdue. So because of that, and Penn State, remember, is coming off their biggest win in a very long time. So I got Penn State winning. I'm going to go 27-13, Penn State over Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana. So, MF, let's get you in here now. This is your conference, Penn State, Purdue, and I know out of everybody who was watching, it was a wild Saturday night. I mean, not just because of Penn State, but also because of the Chicago Cubs winning the National League pennant. But MF, I'm going to bring you in now. I got to ask, point blank, Penn State, they have the momentum after that humongous win against Ohio State, which delighted you and the rest of the Michigan fans all around the world. No question about it. I know I'm going to get it without a doubt from you on this one. Trap game for Penn State? I think so.
Normally when you get a big game and you come off an emotional win, yes, there's always that threat for a letdown, but I don't think this is going to be the game. I don't think they're going to lose this one. Yes, easily you can call it trap, but I don't think they're going to fall into the trap because I think Penn State right now, they realize that, hey, we control our own destiny right now. You know, we actually have an opportunity to really shake things up here. You know, the 3-1, a big win. You know, you still have an opportunity, you know, to play for the Big Ten championship. So, I mean, yes, is it the most obvious thing to say? Could always happen at any time. I think we can all agree with that. It's just, how do you handle the situation? How do you handle the job at hand? And that's really more than anything else. Now, of course, you still got to deal with Michigan a little bit later on in the year because you got to play them. That's going to be a very dangerous game, to say the very least. If you're a Michigan Wolverines fan, you're looking at Penn State and you're like, whoa, they did that to them? I should refrain because they did beat Penn State. They actually destroyed them 49-10. So, I mean, we gotta wait and see how it plays out. But I'm pleased with what Penn State did. Look, Penn State has gone through a lot. I mean, I think we all can agree they've been through a lot this, you know, for the last few years. You know, for things that happened outside of football that, you know, kind of been a major black eye for their university and whatnot. And this was a defining moment for them. Huge win, defining win. And if you really think about it, there's really only one more game that could be it's going to be a tough matchup. But they got Purdue, Indiana, Rutgers, and then Michigan State. And right now, I could see them go maybe 4-1. I mean, in the final 5 games, the Iowa one is their toughest game, no doubt about it. Iowa could trip them up, and that could be the end of that. But if they win out 5 in a row, then it becomes more important for Michigan to win out. Because here's the thing: if 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 they end up all identical records, Michigan will have the leg up on uh Michigan will have the leg up on Penn State. Penn State now has a leg up on Ohio State because of that head-to-head win. Very crucial to have. So we'll wait and see what happens. But at the end of the day, I'm with you, Anthony. I gotta say that Penn State wins. But I know you were looking for me to agree with you about the trap game, and yes, it could happen. But I think Penn State is resourceful enough not to fall in that trap. That's all I'm going to say about that. So let's move on to the next game.
Yeah, okay. The microphone's sounding a little staticky on your end, but I can hear you just fine. No worries.
How is it now? Is it good or is it still staticky?
A little better. All right, let's move on to our next one. And you started off, MF, and this is one of our 3 big games of the week. This is one of our top 3 games of the week right here. And it comes out of the Pac-12 conference as we start our 3:30 slate of games. The number 4 Washington Huskies against the number 17 Utah Utes. Rice-Eccles Stadium, Salt Lake City, Utah. Beautiful stadium. I know. I've seen it. And this game's going to be on Fox Sports 1. And calling the game for Fox Sports 1, Fox's A-Team. The man, the myth, the legend, one of our all-time favorites, me and MF. The man himself, Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, Shannon Spake. They'll be in Salt Lake City for the Huskies and the Utes. And the spread favoring Washington by 10 to 10.5. MF, another big game for you to start off on. What a game this is in the Pac-12. Washington and Utah this game could be well significant over who we could see possibly in the Pac-12 championship game within the next month or so.
Absolutely. And more importantly, Anthony, Washington is an 80-20 favorite. 79.2 to 20.8. They are a massive favorite to go in this game. And why is that? They average almost 48 points per game. Utah only averages about 30. Points allowed, they only have given up about 14.6, where Utah only gives up about 21.6. Offensively, they are dangerous. Almost tiling up almost 487 yards, and Utah only gets about 433 yards given up. Washington, 318 to 363 of Utah. More importantly, undefeated to a team that's only lost 1 game all year. This is a battle, a war of attrition, and more importantly, like you said, this could have a humongous impact on the Pac-12 conference. And the reason why Anthony said that is because once you get into the Pac-12, is the number 1 team in the North versus the number 1 team in the South. So who knows? We might see these 2 teams again in the Pac-12 championship game. This could be a prelude to the Pac-12 title game. You don't know. This could. Whatever the case may be, this will be an unbelievable matchup. But you know what? I'm going to say this. I'm 1 foot in on that bandwagon of Washington. If they knock off Utah, if they impress me with that victory, I'm full in. I will go all in. I'll go head first, right in that wagon, and that thing's and it's gone. It's going down that hill. It's like I said. It's about to hit that hill. My 1 foot is in, and I'm thinking, if Washington wins, then I'm staying on and I'm in, or I jump off the wagon before that thing goes downhill. That's the theory I have in being. But I'm going with Washington. I think they're going to get the job done. They're going to win this one by 2 to 3 touchdowns is what I'm predicting. Anthony Florio, it is all yours.
Oh, yes. This is a great game right here. Unbeaten and fourth-ranked Washington Huskies are enjoying their best ranking since the end of the 2000 season, but they are heading into what their coach calls their toughest test of the season. Washington plays at 17th-ranked Utah on Saturday afternoon, and Rice-Eccles Stadium will be rocking, further fueled by the energy of having ESPN's College Game Day program on campus. Whoa, that's a big deal, especially when they're there. Washington is coming off its 10th consecutive victory, a 41-17 win over Oregon State at Husky Stadium last week. The Huskies have defeated every opponent this season by at least 24 points, with the exception of an overtime win at Arizona. Washington has the top-rated defense in the Pac-12, 14.6 points allowed per game, leads the country in turnover margin, +2 a game, has the nation's number 2 rated passer, Jake Browning, 199.6 efficiency rating, and the top rusher in the conference, Myles Gaskin, 103.9 yards a game. The Huskies have outscored their opponents in the first half alone, 200-24. A prime storyline is first-year starting Utah quarterback Troy Williams. He began his career at Washington, but transferred after the 2014 season. He said, "I told them I'd be back. I kept my promise." And that's pretty much all and I really don't want to get into any of that quoting detail. Williams has passed for only 221 yards in the past 2 games in a wet and windy day at Oregon State and last Saturday at UCLA. But he hasn't had to do much other than keep the defense honest with some deep passes. Utah senior running back Joe Williams has become one of the best stories in college football, coming out of a 5-week retirement due to injuries, rushing for 179 yards against the Beavers, and a school record 332 versus the Bruins. The coaching staff convinced him to come back after other injuries ravaged the position. Browning, a sophomore, has completed 118 of 172 passes for 1,709 yards, 26 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. Wide receivers John Ross, 115 yards against Oregon State, and Dante Pettis, 112 last week, became the first pair of Husky wideouts to go over 100 yards receiving in the same game since 2002. Gaskin, a sophomore, already has more than 2,000 career rushing yards. Utah's offense hasn't been dynamic for much of the season, but the Utes are coming off a 52-point effort against a talented UCLA defense. Washington's is even better. The Huskies have future NFL guys all over their defense, including free safety Buda Baker, cornerback Sidney Jones, and defensive tackle Vita Vea. UW defensive end / outside linebacker Joe Mathis, team-high 5 sacks, missed last week's game because of a foot injury and doesn't seem likely to play this week. Utah free safety Marcus Williams, a 2015 first-team all-conference pick, did not play last week at UCLA because of an undisclosed injury and is not listed on this week's depth chart. If the Huskies still have skeptics, it is because they have not played a team that is currently ranked. Stanford was number 7 at the time of the meeting, but has since fallen way off. Indeed, they have. Even though I like Troy Williams and Joe Williams in Utah, you got to go with Washington. I mean, Washington is the hot hand right now. You always have to go with the hot hand. Well, that's always been my theory. I like Utah as well. I mean, what else is there to say on that? I mean, I should say Washington, I think. I think I said Utah by mistake, but I like Washington, though. I mean, this Washington team is really good. It's the best Washington team I've seen in like 15 years. And that's really all I can say on that. So behind Browning and Gaskin and the rest of that talented group of offensive guys, give me Washington over Utah. 38-24, Washington beats Utah in one of our big games of the week. All right. Moving on to our next 3:30 game, ESPN. The number 6 Ohio State Buckeyes back home at Ohio Stadium in the Horseshoe of Columbus, Ohio. They're going to be at home against the Northwestern Wildcats. Games on ESPN. And calling the game for ESPN, it'll be Dave Patch with Greg McElroy and Tom Luginbill. They will be in Columbus, and spread favors Ohio State 27 to 27.5. Let's face it, Ohio State is out for blood. Ohio State looked like they had found a way to win yet again against Penn State before the rug got pulled out from under them. They're going back home. They're huge favorites. I mean, Northwestern's got a good young team, but JT Barrett and the rest of that unit, they got revenge on their minds. And I think Ohio State is going to extract some big-time revenge, and they are going to they don't have revenge against Northwestern, but Northwestern, I wouldn't want to be you boys right now, because you're going to be going up against an angry and pissed off Ohio State team coming off a very demoralizing loss in a game that they should have had, that they had won, but they let get away. So there's nothing left for me to say. I got Ohio State going away. JT Barrett, humongous game. Defense is going to reign supreme. There's nothing left for me to say. Ohio State, one of my locks of the week. MF, how about it?
This is a moment where you have to be careful when a team is angry. And boy, are they a wee bit mad. Bad time, bad situation. Like you said, Anthony, you do not want to be you don't want to be in the way of Ohio State at this moment, at this time, because you're probably going to get hurt bad. So I'm saying it right now. I'm with you, Florio. As much as I might not want to, I got to do it. I'm going with the Ohio State Buckeyes to bounce back, to regain, to recover, whatever. They're going to get the job done. They should win this game. They'll probably win this one going away. I'll even admit that. So, with that said, there's really nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
All right, we move on to our next game, and you'll be starting this one off, MF, as we go back to the Big 12, another Big 12 shootout potentially here. 3:30 game on ABC. We got the number 8 Baylor Bears going up against the Texas Longhorns from Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium / Jamail Field in Austin, Texas. And this game's on ABC. Calling this game for ABC, it'll be Steve Levy, Brian Greasy, Todd McShay. And the spread favors Baylor, but it's only by 3.5 to 4. So, MF, we started off with you. Baylor, they started slow, but now they're looking like the Baylor team we've known and loved the last few years. And Texas, you look at Texas, they started off in humongous fashion, big win against Notre Dame, but what have they done for us lately? Not much of anything.
The Red River rivalry killed them. The Red River rivalry did them in again. It was, if the Red River rivalry was the thing that was like their signature win 1 year ago, it has been the most demoralizing loss for them all season long. After they lost in the Red River rivalry, that did Texas in at this point, and that once again started the rumors of if Charlie Strong should be the coach or not, because after that loss, they went and as usual, as I would say. So, no, I'm with you on this one, Anthony. Look, the body of work will say one way or another. But, when you got Blachette, who averages about 246 yards, and his numbers are not that bad. They're not bad at all. They got 1,700 yards passing. He averages about 246 a game with 15 touchdowns, 5 INTs. That's not bad. is that with Foreman as their running back, he's got 8 touchdowns. When they used that freight train setup, that was the thing that killed Notre Dame. Oh, by the way, just to let you know, Anthony, the freight train setup, which was with Swoops being the runner, he's already got 6 touchdowns already on 37 rushes. So, I mean, you got a good team, you got a good setup. What gives them the problem, or what has really, I want to say, hurt stated this team up to this point is, let's look at the comparisons. I mean, you got the 12th best rushing attack in all of college football when it comes to Baylor, and your total offense, you're ranked number 8 total overall in the entire NCAA. So, I mean, this is as good as you're going to get if you're looking at Baylor. I mean, our outrush, when you got the total yards, your net yards in passing and rushing, you're actually you're better rushing than passing. You got 153 first downs. You got to clean up the penalties. You got to make some key mistakes over there. But, I mean, my goodness, what is there to say, guys? This is going to be a great battle. This is going to be a great matchup, to say the very least. But, I got to go with Baylor. So, nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I got Baylor winning as well. But of course, I have to get into my liner notes for this one. There will be plenty at stake when number 8 Baylor travels to Texas for a Big 12 showdown on Saturday afternoon at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium. But the roles predicted for the two rivals in the preseason have changed a lot. Baylor had been expected to take a step back from the top of the conference in the wake of the firing of Coach Art Briles and the sexual assault allegations against the school that rocked the college football world in the offseason. Instead, the Bears have kept their swagger, closed ranks under interim coach Jim Grobe, reeled off nothing but wins over the first half of their season, and moved steadily up the rankings. Conversely, great things were expected of Texas, especially after the Longhorns won their first 2 games, one of which was a season-opening victory against then number 10 Notre Dame. Since then, Texas has lost 4 out of 5, including a 24-21 loss at Kansas State last Saturday. Coach Charlie Strong, who was crowd-surfed by his players after the win over the Fighting Irish, is just trying to find a way to uncork the Longhorns' potential while fighting to keep his job. Texas and Baylor have met 105 times through the years, with the Longhorns holding a 75-26-4 edge. Lately, the Bears have controlled the series, winning 4 of the past 6. Baylor has started 6-0 in each of the last 4 years, a program first and the only FBS program to do so. Rivalry has become testy in the past few years, with plenty of animosity on display between the two teams, and even a fist fight in Texas's 23-17 win in Waco last year. Baylor linebacker, Baylor linebacker Avion Edwards said the Bears will approach this game like they would any other opponent, despite the recent fireworks between the two teams. The Bears are the most complete team in the Big 12, averaging 549 yards of offense, 3rd most in the conference and 4th nationally, while allowing just 320 yards per game, best in the Big 12 and 16th nationally in total defense. Things have to change, and in a hurry, if Texas is going to establish this year from the scrap heap. The Longhorns had every opportunity to snatch a victory last week at Kansas State, but couldn't take advantage of the Wildcats' rare show of generosity that included 8 penalties and 3 turnovers, as well as forgetting to cover Texas wide receiver Devin Duvernay on a deep pass that went for the Longhorns' first touchdown. Texas junior running back Deontay Foreman has been a key cog in the Longhorns' offense and ranks 3rd in the country with an average of 142.5 rushing yards a game. Foreman has carried the ball 141 times for 855 yards and 8 touchdowns, despite missing a game earlier in the year. So there's really nothing left for me to get into here. I agree with MF. I like Baylor in this one as well. I mean, Texas has taken a major step back ever since that great start to the season earlier in the year. You know, that big win against Notre Dame. And like I said, you know, for the most part, what have they done for us lately? Next to nothing. So there's really nothing left for me to say here. I like Baylor in this one, needless to say. So I don't know. So that's pretty much all I can say on that. So I'm going to go Baylor here. We'll go maybe 41-24. I think that's the best I can go, if I'm going to be real honest. So, yeah, so I definitely like Baylor in that one. So with that being said, let's move on to our next matchup. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party, baby. Ho. We going to Jacksonville, Everbank Field, for the SEC on CBS. The number 14 Florida Gators hosting the maiden Georgia Bulldogs. Well. You already know who's calling this game. It's the SEC on CBS as the Verne Lundquist farewell tour rolls into Jacksonville. Verne Lundquist, Gary Danielson, they'll be in Jacksonville for the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And the spread, surprisingly, I don't have a spread. I thought I would have had a spread for this one for sure, unless MF can help me out with that. Just looking for the spread for this game. Florida and Georgia. Hopefully MF can help me out with that, because I know he's got a little thing that he looks at now that he talked about earlier. So, but while I wait for that, let's get into it. For just the fifth time in the long series, both teams will be coming off a bye week when Florida and Georgia meet at 3:30 Saturday at Everbank Field in Jacksonville. All right, just give me a moment here while it loads. Okay. 14th ranked Gators spent the time to prepare for a stretch run they hope ends in an East Division title and berth in the SEC championship game. Gators gained 530 yards of offense in their last outing, a 40-14 beatdown over Missouri, but also turned the ball over 4 times. Georgia coach Kirby Smart is taking a wait-and-see attitude before giving his assessment of what progress his Bulldogs might have made during the break. There will be plenty of storylines entering the game, including the relationship between the two coaches. Jim McElwain and Kirby Smart worked together at Alabama under Nick Saban from 2008 to 2011. McElwain served as offensive coordinator, while Smart worked the other side of the ball as defensive coordinator. McElwain is concerned about Georgia's offensive potential, led by junior running back Nick Chubb and freshman phenom quarterback Jacob Eason. Chubb was held to 40 yards on 16 carries in the 17-16 loss to Vanderbilt in Georgia's last game. But despite that, and despite missing most of one game to the injury, the junior has still rushed for 586 yards. Eason took over as starter in the second game of the season and drove the Bulldogs to the late decisive touchdown the next week in a 1-point win at Missouri. He completed 27 of 40 passes with a touchdown against Vanderbilt, and on the season has completed 54.3% of his passes with 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. A 5-star recruit out of Lake Stevens, Washington, Easton was recruited by both Florida and Georgia. The Bulldogs did get some good news this week on the defensive front, as their 2 leading tacklers, linebackers Natrez Patrick and Roquan Smith, have been cleared of possession of marijuana charges and are eligible to play Saturday. Florida's offense has not been particularly overwhelming this season, but the Gators do have quarterback Luke Del Rio back. He missed 3 weeks due to a knee injury and was a bit rusty in his first game back. He has completed 80 of 139 passes for 998 yards and 7 touchdowns. Wide receiver Tyree Cleveland is also starting to emerge as a threat downfield. The true freshman caught his first career touchdown pass against Missouri and finished with 3 catches for 79 yards. For the season, Cleveland is averaging 20.7 yards a catch. With 84 of the meetings between the two teams in Jacksonville, the game has a special air about it, which is not lost on the coaches. Tough game to call, I'm going to be real honest, but I got to go with the Florida Gators. I think they're the better team right now. I mean, I like Del Rio. Florida's an 8-point favorite. Okay. So So that further cements it. I definitely like Florida now, especially with that kind of a spread. I like Del Rio. I like Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland's a good young talent. And okay. Just had to check something real quick. But nonetheless, I'm with Florida here. I mean, like I said, I like Del Rio. I like that Cleveland kid, and of course, I also like their head coach Jim McElwain, who I think has done a wonderful job since he started in Gainesville. So Florida. I mean, Eason and Chubb can make a game of it. I mean, it's going to be an exciting game, no question about it. I'll even go as far as to say this is my sleeper game of the week, if I'm going to be real honest with you. But nonetheless, Florida's the better team. I got to go with Florida. So Florida wins. I will go. I think they'll just miss the spread. I'm going to go 31-24. Florida beats Georgia in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party at Everbank Field in Jacksonville on the SEC on CBS. So MF, sleeper game of the week, Georgia, Florida in Jacksonville. A lot of history. You said it yourself. Florida's the 8-point favorite. What do you like in this one? Do you agree with me or do you disagree?
8-point favorite, 73.2 to 26.8 on the ESPN Power Index matchup predictor. Florida wins. They're just a better team. I think they had that one hiccup against Tennessee. That was their only hiccup all season long. I mean, other than that, Georgia, that's another team that I thought was very disappointing. I'm very disappointed with the way that they've been playing all season long. I haven't been fully invested with them at all. Sorry to say, but give me Florida. Nothing more to say. Florio, let's go. Next game.
All right. So let's see who's our next matchup here. Well, now we go into the primetime games. Hey, we're actually moving pretty quickly here. We got 7 games left. We're about halfway through the docket here. So, all right. As we start our primetime slate of games, we started off in MF. You're going to be starting it off, and it's another big one. What's that?
Oh, look out. I know which one it is, too.
Another big one
Big
in your
Yep.
Another one in your conference, MF. I could say this is the Big Ten game of the week, if I'm going to be real honest with you.
It is.
7 o'clock on ESPN. How about this matchup, folks? The number 7 Nebraska Cornhuskers against the number 11 Wisconsin Badgers at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin. This game's on ESPN. Calling the game for ESPN, it'll be ESPN's B team, Joe Tessitore, Todd Blackledge, Holly Rowe. They will be in Madison. Spread favors, believe it or not, Wisconsin between 7.5 to 9. Little surprising there. So
actually, there's one even saying.
What's that?
There's even one I was going to say. The ESPN actually has it at 10 for Wisconsin. So there's a double digit here too.
Well, you have 10. I have 7.5 to 9. But MF, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Big Ten game of the week in your conference. Only fitting you started off, Mr. Big Ten.
Well, only fitting that I started. But here's the problem. A lot of people are like, what is going on? Why is this such a lopsided game? 3 factors about this. And if you really look at the body of work, you're thinking there's no way, no how this can be that high, that big of a spread. Well, here's the thing. Basically, when you talk about what Nebraska has done this season, and they are ranked number 7 in the nation, so a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is great." The only claim to fame victory they've had up to this point was Oregon. they haven't really faced a legitimate team yet. Fresno, they faced Wyoming, the big win against Oregon, which was only a 3-point win. Northwestern, Illinois, Indiana, Purdue. That's why a lot of people are kind of skeptical about Nebraska. Now, if for some way, somehow, they get by Wisconsin, then they got to deal with Ohio State the next week. We're going to see what Nebraska's made of in these next 2 weeks. If they get by both of them, then look out. Then we got a situation on our hands, and we got some excitement in the Big Ten. But I'm sorry, I don't see it. And the reason why was, remember, Wisconsin already played Michigan, and they gave Michigan a whole bunch of fits in that game, and they only lost by 7 points. It was only a 14-7 margin. Needless to say. So, deal with a team like Nebraska. You already dealt it with the big two, and you only lost by close margins. So you're already game tested. Then you roll into Iowa and knock off Iowa at 17-9. And so, I mean, to me, this is where I think Wisconsin has already been battle tested. They dealt with the two biggest teams that they need to deal with, and now they got an easier schedule at the end. Nebraska, you're dealing with a really focused, really good Wisconsin team that many people believe is going to win this game. So do I. I just don't see you guys winning this game. I'm sorry. Overall, these type of matchups tells the whole story. And that's the factor that I need to go with. And yes, I know a lot of people are like, but Mike, Michigan, Ohio State. Michigan, they only won by 7 points. And they gave Michigan a whole bunch of fits. They only lost by 7 points to Ohio State, and the game went to overtime. They almost beat. They would have been the second team that would have knocked off Ohio State. I'm going with Wisconsin. I think that Wisconsin people are going to be jumping around, and they're going to get that thing going. I'm calling for the upset. Yes, I'm doing it. I'm calling for it. Madison, Wisconsin, get ready, boys. You're going to be partying. Another upset off Nebraska. My final score, 31-24. Give me the Wisconsin Badgers to knock off the Cornhuskers. Anthony Florio, it's yours.
Buying into it, I see. Another tough one to call here. Most college football teams circle the calendar when they face a team ranked in the top 10. But for number 11, Wisconsin, it's become the norm. For the 5th time in 8 games this season, the Badgers will face a team ranked in the top 10. This time unbeaten in 7th-ranked Nebraska on Saturday night at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison. Wisconsin opened the season with a 16-14 win over then number 5 LSU at famed Lambeau Field in Green Bay. 3 weeks later, it took down then number 8 Michigan State 30-6 in East Lansing. The Badgers have lost their last 2 games against top 10 foes, a 14-7 defeat at then number 4 Michigan, and a 30-23 overtime setback to then number 2 Ohio State on October 15. The brutal schedule has taken its toll physically on Wisconsin, which announced Monday that standout inside linebacker Jack Cichy will miss the rest of the season with a torn pectoral muscle, suffered in last week's 17-9 victory at Iowa. Cichy, who leads the team in tackles with 60, suffered the injury late in the second quarter but still finished the game. Vince Biegel made his return to the lineup Saturday after missing. Outside linebacker Vince Biegel made his return to the lineup Saturday after missing Wisconsin's losses to Michigan and Ohio State with a fractured foot. Inside linebacker Chris Orr also is out for the season after tearing the ACL in his right knee on the Badgers' first defensive player of the year against LSU. Inside linebacker T.J. Edwards missed the beginning of the season because of a fractured foot suffered in the summer, meaning 4 of Wisconsin's top 5 linebackers have missed time due to injury. Nebraska, meanwhile, is off to its best start in 15 seasons. We'll get star receiver Jordan Westerkamp back from a back injury suffered late in an October 3rd win at Illinois. Westerkamp led the Cornhuskers with 65 catches for 918 yards and 7 touchdowns a year ago. Quarterback Tommy Armstrong is excited to get his roommate and number 1 target back. The trip to Camp Randall brings back some bad memories for Nebraska. 19 players were on the field at some point during the last trip there in 2014, a 59-24 loss that played a big part in Coach Bo Pelini getting fired 2 weeks later. The Cornhuskers actually held a 17-3 lead in the second quarter before the Badgers and Melvin Gordon got rolling. Gordon finished with 408 yards rushing, breaking the NCAA single-game record. Armstrong has started to thrive in his second year of Mike Riley's offense. He has completed 103 of 186 passes for 1,611 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions while rushing for another 380 yards and 6 touchdowns. He'll be tested by a Wisconsin defense that has surrendered just 8 total touchdowns, 4 rushing, and 4 passing this season, fewest in the FBS. The Badgers have given up just 9 plays of 20-plus yards in 7 games. This is a tough one. I know Wisconsin. I know it's in Wisconsin, and I know they're a big favorite. I get that, and I understand that. But I'm sorry. Again, MF, I got to respectfully disagree with you. I actually like Nebraska in this one because I like Tommy Armstrong, and they're getting Westerkamp back. That's a big deal. Westerkamp is a dynamo, and I think his presence alone is going to be the difference maker. This Nebraska team is the best Nebraska team I've seen since that team in 2001 that had Heisman Trophy winner Eric Crouch. You remember that. And I believe they went all the way to the championship game, even though they got beat down by the U in the Rose Bowl. But this Nebraska team is for real. I haven't liked what I've seen from Wisconsin lately. I mean, yeah, they lost to Michigan and Ohio State, but those are games you really have to win, and you need to win if you're going to if you want us to take you seriously. They didn't either. Until I see otherwise, I'm sorry, MF. I got to respectfully disagree with you once again. Give me the Nebraska Cornhuskers. My final score, Nebraska wins 35-28. Nebraska beats Wisconsin in Camp Randall on Saturday night. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Moving on to our next game. Number 13, Boise State Broncos going up against the Wyoming Cowboys from Jonah Field at War Memorial Stadium in Wyoming. This game will be broadcast on the CBS Sports Network. And I don't have an announced crew for this game, but I do know it's on the CBS Sports Network. So let me check my liner notes here. Spread favors Boise 13.5 to 14. No question about this one. We don't need to go into a full detailed preview. Well, actually, for the next couple of games, we're not going to have to worry about detailed previews because I like Boise in this one. I like Brett Rippon. I like Jeremy McNichol. These two young men are going to do the job, and Boise State's going to win this one. They should have no trouble with Wyoming. I know Wyoming is 5-2. I get that. I respect that. But I mean, Boise finds itself in the favorites role. I mean, they're looking good for a possible New Year's Six bowl bid. Definitely liking what I'm seeing there. So there's really nothing left for me to say here. So behind Rippon and McNichol, I got to go with Boise. I think they'll cover that 2-touchdown spread. My final score, I will go I'll go 38-24 again. I'll give it another 38-24 final. 38-24 Boise State over Wyoming in Wyoming behind Ripon and McNichol. So nothing left for me to say except MF. Boise State coming off of a narrow win against BYU, going up against Wyoming, about a 2-touchdown favorite. They should win this one going away, right?
They should win this one going away. I'm not gonna waste too much time of your time here. Boise State should win. On to the next game.
Well, this is going to be another open and shut game, MF, which you're going to be leading off on as we go to the Big 12. Back to the Big 12, I should say. The number 16 Oklahoma Sooners back home at Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma, going up against the proverbial doormats of the Big 12 in college football, the Kansas Jayhawks. Yeesh. This game's going to be on Fox Sports 1. And calling the game for Fox Sports 1, it's going to be Brian Custer and Petros Papadakis. And the spread, Oklahoma, needless to say, Oklahoma, biggest favorite of the week, 40 to 40 and a half. MF, I wonder who you have in this one. Think long and hard now.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say is, are they going to cover the spread? That's the only question I'm going to have. Oklahoma wins big, but are they going to actually cover the spread? Now, this might be a SGP all boy. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. Scott Van Pelt. This might be on winners because that prediction might be a wee bit high where he might take the points and say that even though he thinks that Oklahoma will win, he might say it might be closer than the experts. You know, he might say they might not cover at 40. And remember, the over-under is 68. So two things could happen here. If they don't cover it, we could see this on Bad Beats on Monday. And if it ends up on Bad Beats, you know what that means. Some bookies are crying because they just lost some money, some easy money, and it went right by the boards. Nothing more to say. Sound like we got a new member in the crew. Yeah, I had a feeling. All right.
Yeah,
Bullocks in the house.
Fletch.
I was waiting for you, man. Where the heck were you? You're about an hour and a half late. What is going on with you, mister?
Hey, you remember the old saying here? We all got lives outside of YouTube.
Yeah, true. I'm just trying to get at you.
I know.
Try to come after you.
Yeah.
It's all good. Glad you made it.
That's how we roll here at Strictly Sports College Football Thursday, or any of our shows.
Yeah, I'm just glad you made it. You know, unlike Tuesday night where you kind of left me in the lurch. So anyway, it's all good.
Oh, it is what it is.
Floyo set it up.
Well, in defense of Bullock, Tuesday is his busy night, if I'm going to be real honest with you. So, but I'm glad he made it here tonight. But before we catch you up, Bullock, I do want to pass along a final Thursday night football. The Tennessee Titans defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars 36-22. That's the final score from Nashville. Tennessee wins it. We'll talk more about that tomorrow night on NFL Friday. So, Bullock, we got a lot to catch you up on. So, you know the routine, rapid fire like you usually do. So let's get it going.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you who I think's gonna win because I'm sure you guys talked about it, some of the matches that you already broke down.
Yes, indeed. And a result earlier, Bullock, Virginia Tech defeated Pittsburgh 39-36 tonight. So just wanted to make sure you knew about that. So, all right. Tomorrow night, number 22 Navy against South Florida in Tampa. Who you got?
All right. Well, I'm actually gonna go. I'm going with Navy in this one.
All right. The first big game of Saturday. You and Michael Fletch's number 2 Michigan Wolverines against the Michigan State Spartans. Revenge on your mind for that demoralizing loss a year ago.
Oh yeah, we got revenge from what happened last year. When I think we're getting it. I got Michigan winning this one, and And I'll be quite honest. I'm actually think it's going to be just a tad closer than what the spread says because, let's not forget the history with these two. Like you said with last year. So I'm going with Michigan to win this one, but I think it's going to be much closer than what people think.
Fair enough. Number 5, Louisville against Virginia.
Louisville. I got Louisville winning this one in a big way.
Number 10, West Virginia against Oklahoma State.
I got the Mountaineers taking this one.
Number 24, Penn State against Purdue.
I got the Nittany Lions winning this one. I think the momentum's definitely going to continue after their huge victory over the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Agreed. Number 4, Washington Huskies against the number 17 Utah Utes. One of our big games of the week.
This is definitely a big game. Very tough one to call, but in the end, I got Washington winning this one. But it's going to be really close. It may come down to the last play of the game.
I'm going to be surprised. So you like Washington over Utah, okay?
Yep.
Number 6, Ohio State at home against Northwestern.
Ohio State's going to win this one, and I'll bet you that team's seething after the way they lost to Penn State. So I got Ohio State winning this one, and I think it's going to be a blowout because Ohio State's going to come out angry after that loss.
Definitely. Number 8, Baylor against Texas.
Baylor in a landslide.
Wow. Okay. SEC on CBS. The Maiden Georgia Bulldogs against the number 14 Florida Gators in Jacksonville. Our favorite Vern Lundquist, Gary Danielson, Allie LaForce. Who you like in that one?
I got the Gators winning this one, and I always like this rivalry game because isn't this at a neutral site?
Yeah, Jacksonville.
Yeah, I always like it when they play in Jacksonville, and I got Florida winning this one.
And another one of our big, huge games of the week. Number 7, Nebraska against number 11, Wisconsin.
Oh, this is definitely another big fight feel here when it comes to this game. This is another tough one, but I'm going to say Nebraska wins this one, and like the Washington-Utah game, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to the last play of the game when it comes to this game.
Definitely. Number 13, Boise State against Wyoming.
I got Boise State winning this one.
And the game that we're just finishing up on, we're just going to get your thoughts on it now. Number 16, Oklahoma, a 40-40.5 point favorite at home against Kansas. Think long and hard about this one.
Is that really necessary, Florio? You know who I got winning this one? Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner on this one.
Amen to that. Baker Mayfield, along with D.D. Westbrook and Joe Mixon and those guys. Oh, yeah, they're going to run circles around them. I agree. They're going to win going away. All right. You're all caught up now, Bullock, and we're going to have you lead off on our next game, which is a 7:15 game on the SEC Network. The now number 15 Auburn Tigers going up against the Ole Miss Rebels, Vaught Hemingway Stadium at Hollingsworth Field in Oxford, Mississippi. Games on the SEC Network. And calling this game for the SEC Network, it will be... Oh, yes. You are looking live at Vaught Hemingway Field at Jordan Hollingsworth Stadium. Yes, indeed. The legendary Brent Musburger, Jesse Palmer, Kaylee Hartung, they will be at Ole Miss for Auburn and Ole Miss. And the spread favors Auburn 4.5-5. So, Michael Bullock, Auburn, Ole Miss, who you got?
All right. Yeah, definitely my favorite Brent Musburger call in this game. Yeah, of course. Two teams seemingly headed in the opposite directions will clash Saturday night at Vaught Hemingway Stadium. The Tigers will take a 4-game winning streak into the game after beginning the year with losses in 2 of their first 3 games, albeit to highly regarded Clemson and Texas A&M. The Rebels lost their last 2 games and have fallen under the 500 mark for the first time since they were sitting at 5-6 late in the 2012 season before winning their last 2 games. And while the Tigers look to establish themselves as a challenger in the SEC West to division leader Alabama, the Rebels find themselves needing to win 3 of their last 5 games to reach the 6-win level for automatic bowl eligibility. The Tigers are coming off an impressive 56-3 dismantling of an Arkansas team that dealt the Rebels a 34-30 setback the week before. The Rebels lost 38-21 to LSU last week, while the Tigers were churning out 543 yards rushing against the Razorbacks. That's the most ground yardage ever for an SEC team against an SEC opponent. That creates a worrisome scenario for the Rebels, who are having problems stopping people. After surrendering a SEC single-game school record of 284 rushing yards to Leonard Fournette last week, the Rebels are 113th out of 128 FBS teams against the run and don't rank any better than 70th nationally in pass defense, total defense, or scoring defense. The unit now will be tasked with trying to halt or at least slow an Auburn offense that seems to be hitting its stride. Quarterback Sean White is playing with confidence and has become a team leader since getting off to a slow start. The sophomore, who started 5 games last year, threw a touchdown pass and rushed for another in the round of Arkansas. The Tigers also displayed their depth in the backfield, with starter Karen Johnson held out to protect an ankle injury. Backup Cameron Petway rushed for a career-high 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. Johnson will likely return against the Rebels. Ole Miss offense, meanwhile, seems to be running into a wall in the second half of recent outings. The SEC's second-ranked scoring offense has scored 10 total points in the second half of losses to Arkansas and LSU, all of them coming in the fourth quarter against the Razorbacks, and mustered just 104 yards in the final 2 quarters against LSU. Going against Auburn's defense is not exactly an easy way to remedy the situation. A healthy Carl Larson is leading the surge up front. The Auburn junior has been a terror off the edge with 6.5 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. Senior tackle Montravius Adams has 3 sacks and 6 tackles for loss, as the Tigers have recorded 18 sacks and 46 tackles behind the line of scrimmage. So yeah, this should be a real good game here. But the thing is, I like Auburn in this one. I got my final score is going to be Auburn 34, Ole Miss 21. So nothing else to say except, Florio, your thoughts on this matchup. Can Auburn keep it going, or will Ole Miss pull off the upset?
You know me, I always got to go with the hot hand. I got to go with Auburn. I mean, Bullock pretty much gave us all the schematics that you needed on that one. I mean, it's the running game. I love the running game. Cameron Petway, this young man is doing some great things, and the rest of that unit. I mean, Auburn coming off of a 56-3 holiday handing of State of Sorrell's Arkansas Razorbacks. Needless to say, Sorrell was not exactly exchanging pleasantries. That's all I can say about that. But Lindsey McCormick, though, I mean, on the other hand, Lindsey McCormick definitely all smiles in that win. No question about that. So, and I think it's going to keep it going. I mean, I like Chad Kelly and Ole Miss. I do. But when you're hot, you're hot. So I got to go with the hot hand here. Auburn should win this one. I'm going to go 41-21. That's my final score. 41-21. Auburn defeats Ole Miss in Oxford. So, MF, Auburn and Ole Miss, who you got?
I'm gonna make it short, sweet, straight to the point. There's really nothing for me to say here. I gotta go with. I'm with you guys. I'm going Auburn. 2 to 3 touchdowns is probably the safer bet. So nothing more to say. So let's move on to the next game.
All right, fair enough. 3 games left. Another 7:15 kickoff here. We have the number 18 Tennessee Volunteers going up against the South Carolina Gamecocks. at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina. This game is going to be on ESPN2. And calling the game for ESPN2 will be Mark Jones with Rod Gilmore and Quint Kessenich. And the spread favors Tennessee by 13.5 across the board. So there's nothing left for me to say here except Tennessee. This is definitely a game that Tennessee has to win. I mean, after losing in overtime at Texas A&M and getting beat down by Alabama at home, they needed that bye week before heading into the stretch run that they hope will end with an SEC East Division title and a berth in the conference championship game. So nothing left for me to say here. I mean, I got to go with Tennessee. I mean, I know. Well, look back at the last 4 meetings, which has been decided by a total of 11 points. South Carolina winning 38-35 in South Carolina in 2012. Tennessee winning in 2013, 23-21. And, actually, Tennessee's won the last 3 meetings, actually. 23-21 in 2013, 45-42 in overtime in 2014, and 27-24 a year ago. So Josh Dobbs and Jalen Hurd, I think they're both going to have big games for Tennessee. Even though South Carolina, I think their redshirt freshman quarterback Jake Bentley will have a fine game. And I like Will Muschamp, I do, but I'm sorry. I got to go with Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee should win this one. I mean, behind Hurd and Dobbs. So Tennessee wins. I will say final score 35-24, Tennessee over South Carolina in Columbia. So MF, Tennessee and South Carolina, who you got?
Tennessee. I don't really have much more to say about that. Mike Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, this is a must-win situation here for Tennessee. So, Florio pretty much touched on everything. So I'm going with the Volunteers to win this one. So there's really nothing more to say. So I say let's just move on to our next game.
7:30 kickoff on ESPNU. This is our second to last game here. We got the number 9 Texas A&M Aggies at home at Kyle Field in College Station. They're going to be hosting the Aggies of New Mexico State. ESPNU will have it. Anish Shroff and Ahmad Brooks will be on the call. And
it's the largest spread of the week.
I stand corrected. I thought Oklahoma was the biggest favorite of the week. No, Texas A&M is the biggest favorite of the week. They are favorited in this game by, get this, 43.5 points. MF, short and sweet.
A&M, and it's going to be a roll. The only question is, can they cover the 43.5? I think they will, and then some. Aggies wins big. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. Texas A&M, they're going to win this one big time. So, Florio, it's yours.
Trevor Knight, big game. Christian Kirk, big game. Josh Reynolds, big game. This is a college football team's dream come true. Coming off of a tough, demoralizing loss against the best team in the world, and you get to come home and host a dud enhancement team. That's exactly what they're doing here. All those guys I just said are going to have humongous games. A&M, lock of the week, no doubt about it. And now, gentlemen, fun and games over. It's now time for the game of the week. The game of the week right here. And it's our final game of the week as well. The number 3, Clemson Tigers, and the number 12, Florida State Seminoles, Bobby Bowden Field at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, Florida. Saturday Night Football on ABC. You know who's calling this one. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Samantha Ponder. They'll be in Tallahassee. And the spread, just give me a moment to pull it up here. Spread favors Clemson by 4.5 to 5.5. There's nothing left to say. Michael Bullock, you get to lead off on the game of the week, Clemson and Florida State.
This is a big fight feel in the ACC. Man, this is one that everybody's going to be talking about. And this is going to help determine who's going to help lead way towards the ACC championship game later on in the year. So Clemson quarterback Deshaun Watson remembers the last time the Tigers played Florida State in Tallahassee very well. He saw the first appreciable playing time in his career as the Tigers tried to beat the Seminoles on the latter's home field for the first time since 2006, but Florida State escaped 23-17 in overtime 2 years ago. Watson, who passed for 266 yards and ran for a touchdown in that game, has gone 25-2 as Clemson's starting quarterback since and has rewritten the Tigers' record book. But he liked nothing more than to finish his career with a winning record against the Seminoles. The third-ranked Tigers have a bit of cushion over the Seminoles as far as the Atlantic Division race is concerned, but that doesn't detract from the rivalry. The Seminoles, of course, for the Seminoles to get to the ACC championship game, they need to win this game and have the Tigers and Louisville lose one more time to create a potential three-team deadlock at the top of the standings that would throw the berth into the mind of tie-breaking procedures. The Seminoles also are clinging to hopes that even with 2 losses, they can finagle a way into the college football playoff. Coach Jimbo Fisher isn't campaigning for that, but doesn't think such a development is out of the realm of possibility. The Tigers are going into the game following an open date that came at the most opportune time. Running back Wayne Gallman appears ready to go after suffering a concussion in their last game, October 15th against North Carolina State. He rushed for 103 yards against Florida State last year. Wide receiver Hunter Renfrow returned for Clemson against NC State after missing 4 games with a broken bone in his hand and came up with several clutch catches. The former walk-on, who had touchdown receptions in 4 straight games dating back to last season before suffering his injury, may be Watson's most dependable target. For Florida State, running back Dalvin Cook's return to form has been a factor in the Seminoles' rebound from a 1-2 start to the season. He has rushed for 900 yards for the season, is coming off of a 115-yard effort in last week's victory over Wake Forest and rushed for 194 yards and scored the Seminoles' only touchdown in last year's loss to Clemson. The most encouraging sign for Florida State is their recent resurgence on defense. After giving up 177 points their first 5 games, they held then number 10 Miami to 19 and Wake Forest to just a pair of field goals the last 2 games. Defensive end DeMarcus Walker, who is second in the nation in sacks with 8.5, had 2 against the Demon Deacons. Whew. Man, this is a tough one to call. I mean, Clemson has been on a really good roll this year, but the thing is, like I just mentioned, Florida State. I mean, ever since they went 1-2, I mean, they've been on an absolute tear. So this is, this is a tough call for me to make. But I'm gonna say Clemson will win this one 37-34 in overtime. That's where I'm going. This is going to go to overtime. I mean, that's how close this game is going to be. So 37-34, Clemson wins it in overtime. Florio, it's yours.
Wow. You gave all the schematics there, Bullock. Wayne Gallman will be back in the lineup for Clemson after suffering the concussion. He's going to play. That's huge for Clemson. He's their big money running back. Him and Deshaun Watson are a two-headed monster, no doubt about it. I'll give credit where credit is due to Florida State. You know, they got off to a slow start, but they're flexing muscle again with Francois and Dalvin Cook and and the rest of that unit. But I'm sorry, I'm not feeling Florida State here. I like Clemson in this one for some odd reason. Clemson, I've been high on them for the last year or so. I understood. It took me a while to understand why Michael Fletcher was so high on them last year when we were doing this show, but I'm getting it now. I love this team. I love this offensive unit. I love Watson. I love Gallman, and that receiving core with Renfro and Artavis Scott and the rest of that core. So, no doubt the game of the week. Bullock touched on everything. I'm not going to go into any further detail. Give me Clemson in this one. And what I think will be a 5-star game. I'm going 38-35, and I could see that going to overtime. I definitely agree with Bullock. I could see that possibly going to OT. I'm not sure, but we'll see. But 38-35, Clemson wins. MF, the game of the week. You still high on Clemson, or are you tilting towards the other way?
No, I'm still with Clemson. I'm riding them. 42-35 is my final score. I do agree with the overtime, but I think it's going to go where Clemson gets the ball first. They get a touchdown. Florida State will not be able to recover after that, and that's where the game will end. So, yes, first overtime, Clemson wins it. It's on to the rankings.
Power poll time. And I started off. Yes, I do. So
Yes, you do.
Yes. So, okay. So what I'm going to do here, it's not often I mention honorable mentions and duds, but in this case, I do have honorable mentions and duds. We'll actually have only one dud, and that one dud is Texas A&M. Texas A&M losing 33-14 against Alabama. I know the committee took it easy on them, but we're not the committee. They gone. I'm sorry. They started great, but then they just let Bama run over them in the second half. So, yeah. So A&M, see ya. You're gone.
Or shall we say A&M crap their pants?
Exactly. And I have two honorable mentions. The Wisconsin Badgers and the Florida State Seminoles. They're my honorable mentions. Wisconsin, 17-9 win over Iowa. They didn't look all that impressive to me. I need to see a little more from them. If they beat Nebraska on Saturday night, they'll most definitely be in the power poll next week. But no. And Florida State, they're coming off a bye anyway, so I didn't even have them in the rankings last week, so I can't put them in anyway. So they're almost there. If they beat Clemson, you better believe they'll be in the power poll next week. So Wisconsin and Florida State, you got humongous games ahead of you. So those are my two honorable mentions, and Texas A&M is my dud. So with that said, I'm going to start it off with my number 10, my new number 10, and I'm going to go with the Boise State Broncos. Boise State Broncos are my number 10. 7-0. They barely get by BYU, 28-27 in a wild game last Friday night. And I should say last Thursday night, rather. 28-27. They survived them on the Smurf turf. And the rest of their schedule, I know Wyoming is a tough game, and I know they're tied with Wyoming in the Mountain West Mountain Division. But they get by Wyoming, there's no turning back now, because then they're going to go up. Then they got a soft schedule the rest of the way. San Jose State, Hawaii, UNLV, and the Air Force, and I think they can win all those games. Honestly, 3 of their next 5 games are on the road. Wyoming, Hawaii, and Air Force on the road, and then they're home against San Jose State and UNLV. So they're tied for the division lead with Wyoming, but I think they're going to win that game. And if they do win that game, then it'll be smooth sailing from there. So, like I said, I like Brett Rippon. I like Jeremy McNichol. Nothing left for me to say. Boise State Broncos, number 10 in my power poll. So with that being said, MF, you're number 10.
You're right. You nailed it. I'm not gonna argue. I can't argue this. Boise State's there. Wisconsin, yeah, I get it. Not there yet. Florida State, not there yet. Texas A&M, yeah, you're out of here. I mean, that was definitely a no argument for me here. So no, you nailed it, Florio. Good call. Good decision. Um, you got no fight for me. So number 10 is the Boise State Broncos. Mike Bullock, it's yours.
I'm gonna make it unanimous. The Boise State Broncos, they're my number 10 in the power poll as well. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. I mean, you pretty much touched on everything on them. So let's move on to number 9, which Michael Fletcher starts off.
This is easy for me, guys. It's West Virginia. The West Virginia Mountaineers, my number 9. They're 6-0 right now, and you know, any other time you probably would say, "Oh, what will you do in this situation here?" This is pretty safe. This is a safe pick for me. They did win their last. They've handled their business up to this point. Um, and they've won the games that they needed to win. Let's say that the TCU victory was a huge victory for them, but now they got a humongous battle going up against Oklahoma State, where they are actually the underdog going into that game. Me and Anthony were alluded to it earlier in the evening, um, where Anthony went with West Virginia. I disagreed with him, and I went with Oklahoma State to go for the big win. I feel like this is a defining game for West Virginia. If they do win this game, then they clearly go up in the power poll. If they lose, it's that plain and simple. When you're on that razor's edge, and especially when you got teams like we said, like a Wisconsin, like a Florida State, that's really one win away from getting in here. If you're in that bottom tier, one loss is the difference from being in our poll to being out of the poll. Crucial game for West Virginia more than ever before. So, Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yes, I agree with Michael Fletcher. Uh, West Virginia is my number 9 as well. So, Florio, I give it to you.
Make it unanimous. West Virginia Mountaineers, my number 9. I do have to. There is something I need to address. I actually had the Wisconsin Badgers in my power poll last week. They were number 10. I probably should have had them as a tie with Boise State at number 10. That's probably what I should have had. So, even though Wisconsin didn't look all that impressive against Iowa, so I'm actually going to correct that. I'm going to make that a tie. Boise State and Wisconsin, co-number 10s, because I had Wisconsin in my poll last week, and it wouldn't be fair to kick them out because even after a win. So
Was it a bye, or was it just on a victory?
No. Wisconsin actually played last week. Wisconsin played last week against Iowa. So and I had him in my power poll last week. So maybe it was because of a bye. I don't know, but I'm gonna have Boise and Wisconsin as my co-number 10s, and that's my only tie, by the way. So number 9 is the West Virginia Mountaineers. I mean, you guys pretty much touched on just about everything. And MF mentioned we have a head-to-head. He's got Oklahoma State. I got West Virginia winning in that big game in Stillwater. But if West Virginia gets by this game, I mean, they got a decent schedule coming up. I mean, they got a home game against Kansas. That's an easy one. At Texas, I don't think that's going to be much of a problem now, considering how far Texas has fallen. November 19th, circle that on your calendar, Survivor Series weekend. They're going to be at home against Oklahoma. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being our game of the week for that week right there. Well, one of them anyway. And then they go to Iowa State after that. That should be a win. Yeah, Iowa State terrible, and then their final tough game at home against Baylor on December 3rd. So we'll see what Dana Holgerson and company will give us. But they got a tough one against Oklahoma State. And if they can get by that one, then we'll see what happens. But number 9, West Virginia Mountaineers. So let's move on to number 8. I believe Michael Bullock has it. Bullock, do you want to take it at number 8, or do you want one of us to take it?
You could take this one, Florio.
Yeah, I had a feeling. All right, no problem. My number 8's the Baylor Bears. That's who I have at number 8. It's Baylor. I'm pretty sure they played last week. Actually, no. They actually should have been at number 9 because I had them at number 9 in my power poll last week, and they were on a bye. So I might have to do a switcheroo here. I might have to put Baylor now at 9 and move West Virginia up to 8 because of this. So yeah, Baylor actually had a bye. So you know the rule, we can't move them up or down. So I just caught that now. So number 9 is actually, so correction here. Last correction, I promise. Number 9, Baylor Bears. Number 8, West Virginia Mountaineers, only because of the bye week. But I want to get into Baylor anyway. They last time out, was 2 weeks ago. They pounded Kansas. What else is new? 49-7. They're at Texas this week. They should win that. And they have a very tough. They got a murderer's row schedule the rest of the way. They're at Texas here. Then they got to go home and host TCU. Then they're at Oklahoma, home against Kansas State, at Texas Tech, and at West Virginia. Good luck, Baylor. You're going to need it. So because of the little dipsy-doo botcheroo on my part, number 9, Baylor Bears. Number 8, West Virginia Mountaineers, only because of bye week rule purposes. MF, it's yours while I straighten this out.
Yeah, somebody's got to put the little who were on bye last week on our scroll over here, because that's gonna be the biggest issue we're gonna have with these polls from here on in, is because we don't know who is on bye, who's not on bye. This thing is a complete and utter mess every time we do this poll. You know what?
It's frustrating.
You know what? I'm going to make a decree here. The hell with the bye weeks. We do the top 10 according to the way we feel about it. And it doesn't matter. If you're on a bye, if we feel you deserve to go up or down, it should be that way. Instead of have to stick a team here just because of a stupid bye. It gets me frustrated too. At least bring it up for next season.
Definitely taken into consideration for next season. But since we already implemented it for this season, we got to carry that out the rest of this season. But I think starting next season, we're going to waive the bye week rule for this show and the NFL show.
Because it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But, it is what it is. We're going to
keep it implemented. We'll keep it implemented for this show and the NFL show for the remainder of this season.
Well, there's really
next year and every year going forward, no more bye week rule.
Yeah. Because it's going to make us – it's going to really torture us by doing that from here on out. At least for college, there's still maybe 4 weeks left in the regular season, because they normally do about 12 weeks.
15. I have 15 according to my
yeah, but careful with that, Florio, because of the fact that normally it differs from certain week to week, So, but that's neither here or there, because normally the last level of games that they do is right around Thanksgiving weekend. Then you got the championship week, and then there's bowls. So that's why I kind of told the line about that. Normally it is about maybe five games less, so that's 13 weeks. Then you get the championship week, that's week 14. Then the 15th, that's normally your bowl game. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying.
According to Fox Sports, which is where I get my info from, it says week 15 as the final week, and that's December the 10th. And that is the day of the Army-Navy game. And hopefully, if Navy keeps playing well, and if they do, we could actually preview that game and how fun that would be.
Yeah, first time. We've never done an Army Navy in the history, so yeah, that would be our first time ever. We'll wait and see. So, all right. Okay, let's get back to this. So Boise State is number 10. You know what? Because of the fact that that Wisconsin thing came out of nowhere, and Floyo, you really mocked me on this one. This is what I'm gonna do. Boise stays at 10. Wisconsin goes to 9. I'll put I guess what I can do is I could make a tie here and put West Virginia and Baylor both at 8, just to be fair. And I believe, is that how far we're gonna go, or do I get?
Because we're at number 8.
All right, so that's what we'll do. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
So Boise State is 10. 9 goes to we'll go to Wisconsin because of the fact that was that, and 8 because Baylor can't move because of the bye, so they're stuck, and I'll just throw West Virginia up there with them. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I mean, Wisconsin will be my number 9. And then, of course, Baylor and West Virginia are at number 8. So let's just all right. So now we can move on to 7.
And MF starts it off since I lit off at 8.
All right, just you know what? This is easy, but I hope I'm not going to get screwed on this one. Nebraska. Simple enough. I think this is the right call here. Now, I know a lot of people are like, wait a minute, Mike, you're out of your mind. Why is Nebraska there? Why couldn't this not be Ohio State? Good point. Very valid point. And I get it. I know why you would say this. The only problem is, normally in any other hindsight, I would go with Ohio State here and say Nebraska goes a little higher. But because of the fact that it was a close loss and you got to go body of work, and what Ohio State has done to what Nebraska has done, I'm sorry, I got to give the credit and the dupe to Ohio State over Nebraska. The records would tell you Nebraska should be higher, but the level of work and the body of work that these teams have played up to this point gives me the clear-cut certainty, or that I wouldn't be punishing a team. No. And I know a lot of people are going to say, that it doesn't make any sense because, Penn State did beat them and they lost. They were defeated last week. I'm trying to find the score. I know it was close. I know it wasn't a big blowout. It was 24-21. So 3-point loss. Granted, and even me and Anthony Floyo were talking about this privately, I think on Saturday night, Anthony, or was it Sunday? I know it was one of the 2 days.
It was Saturday night because we were also talking about the Cubs winning the pennant.
Exactly. Okay. And what was the one thing I said? They weren't going to make the top 5, but we couldn't punish them too far because of the fact that it was only a close loss. So they're out of the top 5. This would have been an easy call to say, if it would have been maybe a little bigger margin, then I would give them the dupe. But I'm going to say it, and I know I'm going to anger a lot of Cornhusker fans. I have not been impressed with your team at all. You haven't proven to me nothing. You beat Oregon, but all the other teams were cupcakes. Ohio State has beaten the likes of Oklahoma. Let me go into Ohio State before we go into the loss. So they did in Oklahoma, and they beat in Wisconsin. Now, Oklahoma was, number 14 at the time, and they were one of those big teams, high expectations, and they got by Houston at the beginning of the season, which oh boy, did they angered me so bad because I called for a beatdown and they got beaten down. That was stunning. On top of that, you lose by 3, and just off the body of work alone, I'm sorry. I'm going to give number 7 I'm going to give the number 7 spot to Nebraska. Again, nothing against Nebraska. Nothing against them. But you haven't proven nothing to me. Fresno, Wyoming, Northwestern, Illinois, Indiana, Purdue. You can prove something to me if you beat Wisconsin. You beat them, I might leapfrog you. Then you got an even bigger showdown against said Ohio State. Now, if you beat them, I got no argument. I got nothing to stand on at that point. So, for me, my number 7 is Nebraska. Michael Bullock, how do you follow that?
Whew. Man, I don't know how the heck I'm going to follow that. I don't think I can even follow that. I mean, Fletcher made some very, very valid points. So, because of that, I'm going to agree with him. Nebraska is going to be my number 7. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So, Florio, I give it to you.
I agree. Number 7, Nebraska Cornhuskers. That's all there is to say about that. That wasn't good LMF mode. That was Cerebral Viper mode. Simple as that. So, that's all I can say on that. So, Nebraska Cornhuskers,
and
number
he
7.
Called them out.
Yeah, he certainly did. And I don't blame him. They got a murderer's row schedule the rest of the way. I mean, look at it. At Wisconsin, at Ohio State, home against Minnesota, home against Maryland, at Iowa. Good luck, Nebraska. You're going to need it. Good thing you got your star receiver back, but we'll see what happens. So, Nebraska Cornhuskers are number 7. Number 6 now. Bullock, are you going to take it this time or what?
I'm taking it this time.
You got me.
This is where I have the Ohio State Buckeyes. They're my number 6. I mean, and the thing is, like you said, the body of work of Ohio State is better than that of Nebraska. I mean, yes, they did lose to Penn State, but it was only by 3 points. It's not like they lost big time. I mean, if they had lost big time to them, then I would have made a little switcheroo and put Nebraska at 6 and Ohio State at 7. But because they only lost by 3 points, Ohio State will be at number 6. And of course, I did say that they're going to bounce back in a big way against Northwestern. I expect that to happen. So Ohio State's my number 6. So, Florio, I give it to you.
Number 6, Ohio State Buckeyes. You got it, Bullock. Like Fletcher said, those 2 wins against Oklahoma and Wisconsin, both of those were on the road. Very impressive. That's all there is to say on that. Tough loss to Penn State. They got an easy one against Northwestern. They should have no trouble with that one whatsoever. Even though Northwestern is actually second in the Big Ten West Division behind Nebraska. But that'll change. Home against Northwestern. Then they're at home against Nebraska. That's a huge game. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being our game of the week next week. Matter of fact, I've already looked at our slate. That's one of our games of the week next week. I could say it's a co-game of the week if you really think about it, because there's another prime time game that's just as big next week. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Then they're at Maryland. Then they're at Michigan State. And then, of course, the big one, November 26th, Thanksgiving weekend, at home against Michigan. It's all on the line in that one. That's probably going to be part of our football feast show. Boy, howdy, I can't wait for that one. So there's nothing left for me to say here. Number 6, Ohio State Buckeyes. MF, you're number 6.
Well, I kind of tipped my hand a little bit earlier when I said who I said was going to be there. So I got really nothing more to say. I mean, that's it. Ohio State is my number 6. Look, heartbreaking loss, yes, devastating that they lost to Penn State. That really hurt them. But the one thing that I've been hearing this entire week from a lot of the guys from ESPN, the guys from Fox, and everybody else is that Ohio State could still control their own destiny. They actually just have to win out. That means they would have to win all their games, beat Michigan in that final game in the Horseshoe, where right now that could go either way. You know, Ohio State is really good, but Michigan has been in other years. I would say, okay, I think Ohio State might beat Michigan. This year, I think Michigan can beat Ohio State. That's how good Michigan's been all year. They are powerful enough. This could be the year the curse, that stupid jinx at the freaking Horseshoe ends. But we're going to have to wait till Thanksgiving weekend to get there before we say anything else. Because like I said, we got to look forward, not ahead. We got a big game against Michigan State. We got to deal with them first before we think about Ohio State or anybody else, let alone. So number 6 is the Buckeyes. Now we're into the top 5.
And I started off at number 5, and my number 5 is the Louisville Cardinals. Louisville Cardinals are my number 5. Last time we saw them, a 54-13 beatdown of North Carolina State, in which Lamar Jackson accounted for 431 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns in that win. Amazing. As he continues his front running for the Heisman Trophy. At Virginia on Saturday, they should win that. Then they're at Boston College. That should be another easy win. I think they'll get tested at home against Wake Forest, because Wake is a halfway decent team this time around. But I ultimately see them getting by that one. That game against Houston on November 17th, I'm starting to lean towards Louisville now, considering Houston has quietly fallen off the radar now, considering they've lost a couple games in a row now. And then they're at home against Kentucky for the final game. They should win that one going away, because Kentucky's a meh team. So everything looking good for Louisville. I mean, if you heard that schedule, like I said, the only tough game I really see is Wake Forest. And Houston's still going to be a tough game, but I still think Louisville will win it anyway. But we'll see. But ultimately, I see big things for Louisville. So that's all I can say on that. So with that being said, number 5, Louisville Cardinals. MF, agree or disagree?
I agree. I gotta go with Louisville as well. You kind of said everything you needed to say, so nothing more to say. Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, number 5 is Louisville. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So let's move on to number 4.
We are in the final 4, fellas, and we lead it off with the Washington Huskies 7-0. They are looking really good. Well, if I remember, they were on bye last week, so I don't think they. I think they didn't play last week. So now here they
Actually,
are.
they did. They did.
They handled their business. I just noticed against Oregon State. Oh boy, yeah. So they handled their business against Oregon State, but now look out. They got Utah in Utah. Oh my, this could be a big one. If they win this game, I mean it's the top team from the Pac-12 North versus the top team in the Pac-12 South. And I even alluded, could this be a prelude to the Pac-12 championship game? Could. Very well, could. We'll wait and see. But I will say this is going to be an interesting matchup, a great game, to say the very least. How's it going to play out? We'll wait and see. But one thing's for sure, you got two really good quality teams that's going to throw down, go for war, leave everything on the line. Let's see how it plays out. But Washington is number 4. So, Mike Bullock, I give it to you.
Yes, Washington is my number 4 as well. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So, Florio, I give it to you.
Number 4, Washington Huskies. I agree 100%. Took care of business against Oregon State, 41-17. At Utah, humongous game. But that's not their biggest game. I mean, yes, it's a big game, yes. But if they get by that, then they got to go to Cal. They can win that one. Then they have Then they have 2 trap games at home. One against USC and the other against Arizona State. The biggest game is the final game, Black Friday, November 25th, the day after Thanksgiving. They got to go to Washington State. Look at the standings in the Pac-12 North. Look who's tied atop those division standings. Washington and Washington State, both with 4-0 records in the conference. If these two teams keep doing what they're doing, gentlemen, that game on November 25th will not only be for the Apple Cup, it will also be for the right to represent the Northern Division of the Pac-12 Conference in the Pac-12 championship game. Think about it. Washington Huskies, number 4. We go to the top 3. Michael Bullock starts it off at number 3. Who you got, Bullock? Bullock, you number 3. You muted your mic.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I accidentally muted my mic. So, yeah, my number 3, it is the Clemson Tigers. Of course, they didn't play last week. Of course, they won their previous game against North Carolina State. So they continue to look really good. I mean, heading into their big showdown with Florida State, which, like I said, I think they're going to win this one. Where I think Deshaun Watson will continue to add to his Heisman. His resume and for his running for the Heisman Trophy. So, yeah, this is going to be a big test for him, but I think he's going to pass it. So, the Clemson Tigers, they're my number 3. So, Florio, I give it to you.
We agree again, Bullock. Clemson Tigers, number 3. Works out great because I had them at number 3 in the poll last week, and the bye week rule actually plays perfectly here because this is where we had them last week, and we can't move them up or down. Last time out, they struggled against NC State, but they won. At Florida State, big game here. I think they'll win it, but Florida State's going to give them some major fits, no question. And then they're at home against Syracuse after that. Syracuse, a middle-of-the-road team. Another trap game at home against Pittsburgh. And then they got to play Wake Forest as well at Wake Forest. And then they end the year at home against South Carolina in the rivalry game Thanksgiving weekend. So So they're looking good now. I mean, they lead the Atlantic Division in the ACC by a half a game over Louisville. Remember, they had the tiebreaker because they beat Louisville in that great game earlier in the year. So Clemson definitely has the advantage, but there could be a trip up. You never know. Saturday, I think, is the best chance. I honestly think that is the best chance for a Clemson trip up, even though I have them winning. Looking at that remaining schedule, this is the one game I think Clemson has a chance to lose. Think about it. For now, Clemson Tigers number 3. What says UMF?
I agree. Clemson number 3. That's the trip up there, or it could be at the very end at the ACC championship game. Wherever that team is, you never know how that plays out. We even see teams get tripped up in their conference championship game, and that has been a deafening sound at the end. So we'll wait and see what happens. But yeah, could there be a trip up here or there? Absolutely, anything can happen nowadays. So I'm with you guys on that one. Nothing more to say. So let's go on to number 2.
Number 2 in the power poll for this week. Get excited, Michael Fletcher and Michael Bullock. Number 2, it's your Michigan Wolverines. They are number 2 in the power poll for this week. Last time we saw them, they took care of business. 41-8 beatdown of the Illinois Fighting Illini in the Big House. That was expected. They have a chance for revenge in East Lansing against Michigan State on Saturday afternoon. They should win that one. And then they have a trap game at home against Maryland. Maryland's actually a halfway decent team. I mean, they're 5-2 overall, 2-2 in the Big Ten. So 2-2 in the Big Ten East. So keep an eye out for Maryland. And then you got to go to Iowa. You know, Iowa's a halfway decent team. 3-2 in conference, 5-3 overall, 3rd in the Big Ten West. Indiana at home. Well, I think they can win against Indiana because Indiana's a so-so team. They're 3-4 overall, 1-3 in the conference within that Eastern Division. And then, of course, the big one at Ohio State. And as of now, Michigan has the 1-game lead over Ohio State because of Ohio State's loss and Michigan's win. So it's definitely going to come down to that Michigan-Ohio State game on November 26th. So that's all there is to say on that. Wilton Speight and Jake Butt and company, Jim Harbaugh, they're doing all the right things. So chance for revenge against Michigan State, I think they'll get it. They're 24.5-point favorites after all. So number 2, Michigan Wolverines. MF, how about it?
No, I agree with that. Number 2 is Michigan. The one thing I would argue, the one thing I would be a little afraid of is, getting caught in that trap, getting caught in the net. If you just play it out, you be smart about it, you don't make any mistakes here, we should be good to go. That's all I would say about that. Other than that, I like the way that I like the flow of the team. I like where it's going. There's really nothing more to say, guys. So my number 2, like you said, Anthony, is indeed the Michigan Wolverines. Michael Bullock, it is yours, my friend.
Yes, number 2 is the Michigan Wolverines. And like I said, I mean, some people say this could be a trap game because, let's face it, it is Michigan State. But, I mean, and I think, and I agree. And that's why if you're Michigan, you don't want to look ahead. You don't want to look back. You want to focus on right now. As Bill Belichick would like to say, just do your job. If you do your job, you will have no problem beating Michigan State and getting that revenge from last year. Nothing more to say. Michigan's my number 2. So let's move on to number 1. And I think we all know who it is.
I wonder.
Number 1.
Started off.
Well, I was gonna. Number 1, yeah, no arguments here, no fights here. It's Alabama. Bama keeps on rolling. They keep winning. They keep delivering. There is no team that can stop them right now. Everybody was saying there's that 4-game stretch. Was any team gonna beat them? Was any team gonna get them? And they've been answering the bell each and every time. It looks like they're just getting better and better, night in and night out. So I mean, what's there to say? Number one, Alabama Crimson Tide.
Michael Bullock, number one.
Alabama, Crimson Tide, number one. There's really nothing more to say. So, Florio, let's just put a wrap on our power poll.
Yet again at number one, every single week. They're on the verge with a few more weeks. They could be the first team in the history of our power rankings, power poll, whatever you want to call it, to go wire to wire, number one all the way. They're there yet again. And they're going to be number one next week because they got a bye week this week. So how convenient. So number one, yet again, your reigning, defending, undisputed national champion, college football playoff national champion, Alabama Crimson Tide, 33-14 beat down of Texas A&M. It was close early, but they turned on the burners in the second half. Next time we see them, gentlemen, a primetime showdown at LSU next Saturday night under the lights in Baton Rouge. The second half of an SEC on CBS doubleheader. A rare SEC on CBS Saturday night game. Oh, yes. That's all there is to say on that. And LSU is back in the running again, guys. Because remember, Leonard Fournette is back. And oh boy, did he come out last week. So you may think easy win. Not so fast, my friend. That just became a trap game right there. So keep an eye on that LSU game. If they do get by that one, smooth sailing. Because then they're at home against Mississippi State. Easy win. Home against Chattanooga. Easy win. Their only remaining tough game after that, the final game against a suddenly resurgent Auburn Tiger team in the Iron Bowl. But the thing is, this Iron Bowl is at Bryant-Denny in Tuscaloosa. So LSU and Auburn are their only two tough games left. If they get by those two games, of course, they'll get by Mississippi State and Chattanooga. They get by LSU and Auburn. There's no turning back for the Auburn Crimson Tide. Alabama Crimson Tide, rather. Number one, Alabama Crimson Tide. And that will put the bow on this edition of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday for this week. Before we sign off, I just want to give you a quick sample of some games that we're going to get into next week. Only the big-time matchups for next week. How about this? Some games to watch for next week. UCLA against number 23 Colorado. That's a Thursday night game next week on Fox Sports 1. Notre Dame against number 22 Navy. Syracuse against Clemson. Louisville against Boston College. Wisconsin against Northwestern. Florida State, NC State. Georgia Tech against North Carolina. Virginia Tech against Duke. Washington and Cal. Maryland and Michigan. TCU and Baylor. Florida and Arkansas. Iowa and Penn State. And then our co-games of the week as of now. Alabama versus LSU. CBS, SEC Saturday night. And then Nebraska and Ohio State. Whew. How's that for a docket? And that's just some of the games for next week. That's all I can say. There are others. But those are some of the games you can look forward to on this show next week. So, all right. Tomorrow night, we got NFL Friday. We got some big games to look forward to. Headlined, of course, by the Buddy Bowl. Myself and Michael Bullock, the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. Where did that game rank on the Game Radar? You'll find out. As well as the Green Bay Packers and the Atlanta Falcons. Those are just two of the big games that we're going to get into tomorrow on NFL Friday. And then Saturday night at 11, joining myself and Michael Bullock. MF will not be able to join us. Myself and Michael Bullock, we are going to preview the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view event on the WWE Network. And then Sunday night, the recap, we'll all be here. Maybe Dee Dee Woodson will be there. You never know. But we'll recap Hell in a Cell. I'll be hosting that as well, since Hell in a Cell is a Raw exclusive pay-per-view after all. Remember, a reminder, Monday night, no Ridiculously Raw. Ridiculously Raw taking a night off for Halloween. But we'll be back on Tuesday night for the Cerebral Smack Talk with Michael Fletcher on MF's channel. So, and then right back here next week for College Football Thursday and all those games I mentioned. So that'll do it for this. So until tomorrow night for NFL Friday, it's Anthony Florio here for Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. But for now, my friends, God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for NFL Friday, you've been watching Strictly Sports College Football Thursday right here on its own 25 on YouTube.com. For now, Anthony Florio. So long.